Hey everybody, my name's Josh. Today I'm going to show you the new MB T15 mini matte box from Tilta. Let's get into it. Let's take a look at what comes in the box. There's the matte box, carbon fiber eyebrow, a 15mm rod clamp, 4 clip-on rings, a 67, 72, 77, and 82mm. They even included a short 15mm rod that bolts directly to Tilta's cage. My first impression right off the bat, this thing feels extremely well machined, far better than I'd expect for the price. I'm actually used to other matte boxes that slip a little bit and allow you to force the eyebrow up and down while it's still locked, but this one doesn't budge at all. When I lock it, I'm super confident it's going to stay in one place. And this is where the matte box really excels, just flagging off light. Simply put, it blocks unwanted light well, with little added weight, and of course, affordably. I recently used it on all the Ronin shoots on a feature I was operating, and the added weight was so minimal I barely had to rebalance. The clip-on system is great, but the knurl knob on the side is a little bit awkward to reach. I do kind of prefer the ones that clip on the top. And if Tilta just stopped there, I think people would have been more than happy with it given the price. As much as I like the added hot shoe and threaded mounting points on the top, I'd also be a bit concerned about the added weight of a monitor and an arm pulling on the front element of some stills lenses. I think the threaded filter system for me is probably the most problematic design of the kit. I do like that they thought to thread the outside of the filter, the idea being that you could thread on any ND or diffusion you're using for your shots, and then just swap the adapter over. The problem is, at least on the 77mm that I'm using for my Rokinons, the adapter protrudes out and interferes with my ability to tighten it securely. And it makes it impossible to swap filters without touching the glass itself. Ironically, I found it just easier to thread filters directly onto the lens, and then the adapter threaded onto that. My only other wish is that this was a 95mm diameter instead of an 87. I feel like it's so close to a popular standard that could clip directly to cinema lenses, like the Sigma Cine, Leica Summicron C, Zeiss CP3, or Ultra Primes. But of course this is designed primarily for stills lenses, so this one's totally excusable. I was actually able to get around this issue pretty easily by just using the 15mm rod clamp, which worked really well. In my case on the feature, I was using the Sigma 18-35, which actually has an 82mm thread, so I actually could have used one of the included rings, I just didn't have the full set with me. It was actually a good test of MacGyvering the matte box to fit over any 95mm standard lens. It could probably work fine on some medium to long focal length lenses of even larger diameters. And finally, there's the 4x5.6 filter holder. I thought it was interesting that a sub $100 matte box could be holding glass typically costing 3 times as much. I think given the 87mm diameter, the real market for this product is going to be primarily for stills lens and threaded filter users. So I can't see the 4x5 filter holder being a huge selling point for many people. Having so much glass that far away from the lens also creates a few issues. First, as some people have mentioned before, this leaves an expensive piece of glass somewhat unprotected. And it also invites the potential for more dust to collect on the filter, which is particularly problematic the further the filter sits from the lens, because the dust particles will be more in focus. Now don't get me wrong, I'm happy that they added the 4x5 filter slot. I can see this totally coming in handy for me in gimbal situations where a larger 4x5 matte box just wouldn't balance. But ultimately I couldn't help but feel this spot could be used for something a bit more useful for me. And of course, what is a matte box without mattes? I started out by modeling a standard 4x5.6 filter in Fusion 360. And then I used tape to define the perimeter of my frame on my Blackmagic Pocket 4K with an XL speed booster. I did this for all my lenses from 85 to 24mm, and I printed them off on my 3D printer. They snap in perfectly and add some great functionality to this matte box, doing what it does best. Just cutting light. So that's about it for this one. All in all, wonderful piece of gear for the stills lens and threaded filter users, and of course, as always with Tilta, incredibly affordable. Thanks again, and happy shooting.